During our October 2023 trip down to Orlando, we were there for 2 whole weeks, so we did try to slot in quite a few new experiences. We've talked about a lot of the food that was new to us already in separate videos on the channel, so I will link to those down in the description below. We might hit on a couple of them for this video, just real highlights or real lowlights, but it won't be extensive for food. Similarly, we won't super go over the hotels that were new to us. We're really gonna focus on attractions and experiences.
Yeah, a big part of why you go to Disney is to see the new things they've built since the last time you were there, and we just wanted to highlight a couple of those.
Yeah, and a lot of this is new to us, not necessarily newly built, but there kind of is always more to do if you aren't frequenting the parks all the time. If you're new to the channel, hey, I'm Jacqueline.
And I'm Adam.
This is Pixie Dust PhD. We would super appreciate it if you hit that thumbs up button to like the video and subscribe to the channel. You can then ring the bell icon to receive notifications whenever we upload new videos. 2 weeks gave us plenty of time to do some new things. Let's go over those. First and foremost for me is we did actually go to Volcano Bay, which is the water park at Universal. They claim it as a third gate. It is a water park if you ask me. It's not really the same as going to actual Universal or Islands of Adventure, but I was pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed Volcano Bay.
They do have a roller coaster, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but it was a really fun day. Definitely not the same as a park day by any means, but it was still a lot of fun.
Yeah, neither of us really are water park people, so I think we went in with reservations and just thinking like, oh, well, we'll be here for a couple hours and get bored and whatever, that's fine. We could always hop over to actual theme parks or just spend more time in City Walk or chill back at the hotel. But yeah, we spent a solid 6 hours there probably. And honestly, we probably could have stayed longer, but we were getting hungry and had other plans.
We also did take a pit stop to play Pokemon Go though.
Yeah, well, but we were playing in the park. But yeah, they have a Tapu Tapu system. So when you go there, you get a wristband. It's basically a waterproof magic band for you Disney folks. But then you tap into the ride. So the whole thing is essentially a virtual queue, with the exception of if the wait time is super low, like there's just not a lot of people that have tapped in, then there are ride now rides and you can basically just go on. So it's a good mix of you can be waiting for a very popular ride like the Aqua Coaster, Krakatoa, while doing other things that are ride now. Or if nothing's, ride now, there's always the lazy river. There's like an intense river, which is super fun. You can hang out on your lounger, soak up some sun. You can be eating, you can be drinking. It's a really good system that made it like super enjoyable for me personally.
Yeah, it's if someone dreamed up how to do a good water park and they put in everything in place to make it happen.
Yeah, like procedurally, I don't think I have really any notes on the operations of the park, which feels like a miracle. And yeah, we didn't do every single slide or ride, but we did all of the big ones that we wanted to. We managed to do the Aqua Coaster a couple of times. If you are going to go to Volcano Bay, I highly suggest the first thing you do is tap into that. That wait is only gonna get longer and longer. And then once you're tapped into there, then, find a locker if you need one, find your seats, get settled, go do other ride now stuff. But yeah, the Aqua Coaster was, I've never done anything like it. It was really cool.
Yeah, and like Jacqueline said, it's great. Right when you arrive, try and get there a little early, but as soon as you tap in, go find your seats, get settled, and by the time you do all that, it's almost time to go back on the Aqua Coaster if you're there early enough, which is really great.
Yeah, we liked pretty much all the tube rides too. I think they had a good mix of more intense rides and more family-friendly rides. I don't think there were any rides that just as 2 people we couldn't do, so we've experienced in the past, sometimes water parks, if there are tube rides that are meant for a family, you need like 3 or 4 people. So you have to wait for another group to buddy up with if you're only 2 people, but everything worked out pretty fine for us.
Yeah, we got to do a ton and we definitely could have done more, but it was definitely a hot day.
Yeah, it is a lot of stairs. Also, if you do want to do a lot of the slides that are taller, obviously you have to get up there, but also operationally, they have a system where you're not carrying your tube with you almost ever. I think a couple of them, you carried them just the last maybe 1 or 2 flights, but most of that you get to do your stair hike and waiting sans tube, which is awesome. We went on a Sunday in October. It was a pretty warm day, so we lucked out there. It's certainly not peak season. We understand that. That being said, like the Aqua Coaster did end up having an over 3-hour wait by, lunchtime. So it wasn't dead. I had called in advance to inquire about the like bungalows that they have. So there's like a 6-person version and a family version. I only asked about the 6-person version. They also just have premier seating where you get 2 loungers that are reserved for you. It has a little clamshell for shade and you get a lockbox right between you. And I think wait staff come around and take your orders for food and drinks or something like that. So for the day we were looking at, the 6-person bungalow situation was $500. and then the 2 chairs was $120. So I don't know if that's an indication of the expected crowd level, but to me, it didn't really feel worth it. I think if we had a full group and like could split the cost amongst everyone, sure, maybe, but even like $60 per person for a chair for the premier seating was kind of like, what are you really even getting? It just didn't make sense to me. So we didn't do it, and we absolutely didn't need it. Like, we did basically rope drop the park. On-site hotel guests do get early entry. We weren't that, so we did the sort of normal rope drop, which I think was 10 a.m. And yeah, we just hurried back, tapped into Krakatoa. We found lockers sort of nearby Krakatoa, and we claimed spots basically at the entrance of the Fearless River. And it really wasn't crowded that early, even on a Sunday, on a warmer day. Again, I recognize this is not July or August. I'm sure it's much busier in some months than others. But I would say, unless you have a group to like split the fancy bungalow situation with, I don't know that it's worth it or necessary.
Yeah, the only thing about Volcano Bay I wish that could change is the whole park and ride situation from City Walk. Definitely not ideal when you're going to a water park, but it wasn't the worst.
Yeah, that's true. If you are staying on site, there are a couple of hotels I think you can walk from, but otherwise, if you're staying on site in another hotel, there's probably a bus directly from your hotel to Volcano Bay, but if you're coming from off-site, you're gonna park at City Walk and then go through security and get on a bus to Volcano Bay. So you can't park at Volcano Bay, I guess is the overarching point, which is a little annoying. But overall, the Volcano Bay theming is, I think it's pretty cute. I really enjoyed it. The rides are really fun and they're well maintained. And yeah, the operations is super smooth, which I think is a huge part of enjoyment of any park day. I don't know that I can blanket recommend Volcano Bay to everyone. I think it super depends on like how long are you down there. We kind of had a day where we felt like, yeah, we could burn this on a water park and still be happy with the amount of time in the actual theme parks we have. If you're in that same situation, I would suggest it. Upgrading our tickets to include the 3 park access, so include Volcano Bay, I think it was only about $40 a person, and it felt like, yeah, $40 is worth it to me to experience Volcano Bay for the first time. The other big new thing in Universal that we got to experience for the first time is now Minion Land is fully open. So we had done bits and pieces of the Minion stuff as it opened up, but this was our first time on the VillainCon Minion Blast ride. You stand on a moving walkway.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of those games where you're like shooting targets and you get points, and it's chaos, and it's actually pretty fun.
Definitely more fun than Buzz Lightyear.
I agree. And yeah, we went into Bake My Day real fast and we ate at the Minions Cafe. So it's just more of a land now, right? Before it was kind of a ride in a little area. Now it feels pretty complete. Honestly, it's super cute. I enjoyed all of the new offerings a lot. I'm really glad that that has more of a cohesive theme. I'm not even like the biggest Minions fan by any means, but I had a really great time being in that area.
And it's really cool. It's one of the first things you see if you just walk straight into the park, and they did a really good job putting it together for sure.
Yeah. Moving over to Disney, then our first viewing of the Adventure Friends Cavalcade was this trip. I think we technically could have seen it earlier, but the timing just never worked out. It's a cavalcade, so it's short, but I really liked it. I thought it was super cute. The characters they picked for it make a lot of sense. You get to see Raya, which I think is in Disney World, at least while we were there, the only place you could see her, I think. I do wish that there were just more cavalcades. They have definitely taken a lot of that back. There's one cavalcade, I think, in Magic Kingdom at the moment, the Adventure Friends Cavalcade. I think it goes twice a day most of the time. And then they still are doing flotillas in Animal Kingdom, but it feels quite infrequent. But I think they're really cute. And at least for the planned timed cavalcades in Magic Kingdom, if they do have characters that you like, it doesn't take too much time out of your day to sort of plan around that and see it. Yeah,
it's super short and you can basically pop out and see it in less than a couple minutes, especially if you plan to be in that part of the park around the time it's coming. You see it coming, you see some fun characters you wouldn't normally see. Definitely a really cool addition.
Yeah, grab a Dole Whip, wait for the cavalcade to go by, go back on your park day. We also did Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party for the first time ever this year. We did Boo Bash during our longer 2021 trip, but that's like an after hours event, not a full-on party. And in 2017, we did do the Christmas party. So we kind of knew what to expect, but it was like a fully brand new thing for us. We went with a friend, we planned out our costumes in advance. That was super fun. So we went as the Gravity Falls gang, and a lot of the cast members were really like stoked to see us. So that was awesome.
Yeah, I went as a pig named Waddles from the show. And one of the cast members on one of the treat trails asked if I was Mr. Waddles as we were coming up, which we all found endearing.
Yes. We did a couple of character meet and greets. I would say overall we were pretty efficient with time for characters, and we only did 2, so we really did prioritize. we were able to see both sets of the parade. That wasn't kind of originally the plan, but everything was just running so smoothly that night that we had the time by the time the second parade came around. So we were like, yeah, whatever, let's just watch it again. It's a really great parade. It might be one of the best parades at the Magic Kingdom. I will say that for the first viewing of the parade, we went back by Country Bear Jamboree and sort of staked out our spots, not even really that far in advance, probably 20 minutes.
Right.
But that worked out really well, and I really liked that spot. When we saw the second showing of the parade, we were down on Main Street, and that's super fun too, but it's considerably more like lit up. And I felt like the darker version of the parade back by Country Bear Jamboree was like considerably more cool.
Yeah, it was really fun, especially when you're staking out your spot and you see the Headless Horseman come out early. It was really fun.
Overall, not only was the party fun, it was super efficient. So yeah, we saw both parades. We definitely did the fireworks. Those were cool, but it doesn't hold a candle to Happily Ever After, if you ask me. What do you think about the fireworks?
I do like the Jack Skellington
Oh yeah,
narration
they had like a huge
and
Jack Skellington puppet too, yeah.
That was fun.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's just not as, the story's not as compelling as Happily Ever After. But it is fun, and obviously if you're gonna pay a boatload of money to do a special event, and there's themed fireworks, I think you should see the fireworks. We spent also quite a good amount of time getting PhotoPass pictures, but none of the lines were like exceedingly long. I think the longest we waited was probably about 15 minutes.
Yeah. It was also kind of fun is because we were staying on the monorail loop during the time the party was happening, we had a couple nights where we could like watch the fireworks and hear the music. And then we got to go into the park and actually see it for the first time. 1,000 times better up close.
Yeah, that's not a show that I found to be like all that enjoyable from a distance. When we saw it in the park, we really stood pretty close so we could see the puppet. And I think being able to see the puppet and the projections on the castle really completes the story.
There was one really funny moment when we got out of a treat trail that a bunch of cast members kind of waved our party down to go to a secret treat trail, but it was just a promotion for like a kind bar, and it was like not even a piece of candy. It was like a granola bar. It was like the weirdest thing.
Yeah, and they were like,
Promotions.
super special treat, get in this line. And we were like, what? Okay. And then it was a kind bar. And not even like a special limited edition flavor they're testing, just like a normal kind bar.
I don't know, someone must have told them to get rid of them or whatever, but it was just very funny.
Yeah, we didn't go out of our way to do the trick-or-treating, but you know, there naturally just are paths that you would basically be walking through anyway, so we would do it. There was never a backup, at least when we were doing it, and they really did like shovel full into your little bag. The Halloween party was really fun, and I think if it's within your budget, I would suggest it. That's also, there's a lot of caveats to that, like if you have young kids who can't stay up, it's probably not worth it. If you have young kids who don't like Halloween or find it too scary, it's probably not worth it, all those things. But if those types of things don't apply to your travel party, like we just didn't do a day ticket that day. The first time we went into the parks was for the Halloween party, and I think that worked out really well. The other thing we experienced at the party for the very first time and then did twice more throughout the trip was Tron. So Tron was not open when we were last in Disney World. We did decide to do it during the party, so if there's a night event or if there's extended evening hours, you can join the virtual queue at 6 p.m. Asterisk, they may always change the virtual queue system, but that's what it was when we were there. And we did, as a group, the two of us and the friend we went with to the party, sort of decide, like, do we want to spend party time on Tron or do we not? And I think we were all like, well, this is the only guaranteed way to get on Tron at night without paying for an individual lightning lane with a night time slot. So we were like, yeah, let's try. Like, let's at least try to join the virtual queue and see how it goes. And it was great.
Couldn't have worked out any better.
Yes, we joined the virtual queue at 6 p.m. during the Halloween party. We were waiting in line to meet Winnie the Pooh and friends. We didn't know when we would be called. We did our meet and our boarding group got called. I think we must have been in the first 1 or 2 batches of boarding groups to get called for Tron, so we went and did that right away. It was just dark enough to be like very cool. And then the ride itself is, I know a lot of people find it underwhelming because it's short, but for me it's like, I don't really care how long it is if it's a good coaster, and I think it ticks that box of like, this is a very fun coaster. I would love to be on it for longer, but I understand why they're not doing that, and I'd still happily ride it over and over again.
Yeah, the whole coming out into the outside world and it being nighttime and everything lit up.
Very cool.
Very cool. It really plays into the whole ambiance of the ride, and it's a great coaster.
Yeah. The other 2 times we did it, again, we did the virtual queue at the 7 a.m. morning drop, and we're just too good at virtual queues. So we were in the first batch or 2 both of those times. So we went in on first thing in the morning, essentially, 9 a.m. Whenever they started calling groups, it was our turn. And we went, and it's still like a really good ride, but the vibe is considerably better at night, I would say. I can't wait to keep going on Tron, like every trip from here on out. It's totally worth it. I love it. I'm glad that there's something that resembles a proper coaster in that park. Because Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind definitely is not really a coaster if you ask me. It's pretty much Expedition Everest, I guess Rock and Roller Coaster, and now at least we have Tron. This trip was also our first time taking advantage of the extended evening hours since they switched that up. So we did do the old system before where sometimes there would be evening hours for all the on-site guests. Now it's extended evening hours just for deluxe and villa guests at certain parks on certain nights. So we got to do Hollywood Studios and Epcot. Overall, I'd say those are fun. It's great to be in a park with super low crowds. That being said, like if that is a tipping point for you between like a moderate resort and a deluxe resort, I don't really think it's worth the extra cost. During our Epcot one, we were literally the only people on the Seas with Nemo and Friends, which was great. I love that ride. But yeah, it's, not that big of a deal, all things considered, I would say.
I think the Hollywood Studios one was a little better overall, in my opinion, just experience-wise.
Yeah, depends on what rides you want to go on. I mean, the whole point is either you're hanging out in an empty park and enjoying the vibes, or you're taking advantage of low wait times for attractions. I will say the Epcot one was nice though, because we did get to go through Journey of Water at like dark nighttime because it was so late and there were so few people there for the park because it had closed. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you could literally take your time on like everything in that exhibit.
Yeah. And at the Hollywood Studios one, a very special thing happened that I don't know why. I don't know if it happens at all the extended evening hours, but Mickey and Minnie were out just roaming around sort of toward the end of the night. Which if you're a Disneylander, you're like, yeah, whatever. But for people at Disney World, it's like incredibly rare to just see roaming characters. And it wasn't, people weren't like forming a line to take pictures. They were just interacting with folks as they walked by. And it was like so cute and charming. So yeah, extended evening hours is a nice perk, but it's not something I think we'll like plan our trips around by any means.
Yeah, it was definitely fun to do, especially when you're staying pretty close or you're already in the park for maybe catching dinner or a fireworks show. And then just being able to hang out and just continue to do stuff with less crowds is a great way to end the day at Disney.
Adam sort of alluded to this one earlier, but we were able to watch fireworks from a distance from a bunch of different places where we hadn't experienced it before. So one was at Narcoosee's. We went there and enjoyed a meal at the lounge, and then we went out to their deck for happily ever after distance viewing fireworks. We did watch the Halloween fireworks from a distance from the Polynesian beach. And then we were able to view both the Halloween fireworks and Happily Ever After from a distance from Top of the World Lounge. I still think the in-park experience is unbeaten, but if you don't have a park ticket or you don't want to deal with the crowds, these are good options. I would say for me personally, I think the Poly Beach is like far, far and away the worst of those. Like the angle and the distance is just not all that great, especially when you compare it to like the boat launch at Grand Floridian or obviously like Bay Lake Tower or the Contemporary. Back inside Magic Kingdom, we spent some more time focusing on castle shows. So we did see the Welcome Show this time, which we've seen a Welcome Show before, but not this version. And then we also finally actually watched all of Mickey's Magical Friendship Fair, whatever it's called, Castle Stage show. They're both really cute. I would argue neither is worth going out of your way for, but if you have the time, it's always fun to see the characters out on the castle stage.
Yeah, it's definitely something where if you're walking by, make sure you turn your head and watch it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't stake out for a show like I would for a parade.
No, and you don't need to, which is nice.
Exactly. But yeah, it was just definitely nice to see some characters and interacting and entertaining.
We did also meet Mirabel for the first time, which we talked about in the characters video, but I'll just say briefly that her set is beautiful. Mirabel is so spunky, fun, and awesome. If you have any Mirabel fans in your travel party, I absolutely would suggest that you go do that meet and greet. We also did Country Bear Jamboree for the first time, at least as adults in our working memory. It's possible we went as children and just don't recall, but yeah, they're sort of changing up Country Bear Jamboree, so we wanted to go and experience like the original version. This might not even be the original, but you know, the current long-standing version. It was weird.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Talking bear doing a show.
Yeah, I think the animatronics
Yeah.
are cute. I really like their little paws and their little ears, and like the attention to detail is good. the show itself is like such a weird disjointed, I don't want to say mess, but it's like, okay, like every time a new song came on, I'm just like, okay, like we're doing it, Mr. Krabs.
Yeah. You can definitely tell that it definitely caters to a certain time of Disney.
The nostalgia factor
is
strong.
Exactly.
I'm looking forward to the updates. I think we'll give it a shot when those are implemented. In general, I would say these types of like show things where it's, okay, go here and sit for 20 minutes, take a break while you're experiencing an attraction, aren't really my cup of tea. Just not typically how I spend time in the theme parks.
Definitely better option than Hall of Presidents. A lot more laughs, for sure.
Okay, so like I don't think I've ever done Hall of Presidents because I just don't. What is the appeal? I don't know. Not for me. Like I'm saying, this is just not my cup of tea personally.
Yeah, it's just a 20-minute robotics show.
Right, but then you could go do PhilharMagic, which seems more fun. But I guess considerably fewer animatronics.
Exactly, less robots.
There you go. And speaking of shows, we did the Finding Nemo show over in the Animal Kingdom for the first time. I don't think we ever did the prior version, which apparently was way longer. This one was pretty normal show length. I thought it was really great. I honestly really enjoyed it. I thought that the sets and the costumes and the puppets were beautiful. I thought that the voice acting and singing was also like very high quality.
Yeah, it was definitely a very good show. The production value was awesome, like Jacqueline said. Great way to just cool off and just watch something entertaining. Yeah.
I personally enjoy it more than the Lion King show, which I think is a hot take. Like the internet doesn't seem to like the Finding Nemo show all that much, and everyone seems to love the Lion King show. I don't dislike the Lion King show, but I don't really get what all the hype is about, especially compared to, I think, the props and the costumes. And I just found everything about the Finding Nemo show basically to be more engaging, more alluring, except obviously there's less like tumbling and such. Over at Hollywood Studios, we did decide to go do viewings of the projection shows at the Chinese Theater. These are The Wonderful World of Animation and Disney's Movie Magic. I honestly have no idea how long these have been running. It's certainly not something we had ever seen before though.
Yeah, it basically was a show that tried to give you like quick hits of all the old Hollywood and Disney movies, respectfully. Like, it was good. Like, just it showed you like the highlights of each of these films, tried to make it into like a cohesive show. But it's just something where definitely take it or leave it.
Yeah, they feel like they were almost tests for a real show because they're quite short and condensed, and there's points in it where you're like, oh, there could be fireworks here, but there was no pyro. There was like a tiny bit of pyro in the shows, but hardly any. In the live action version, so Disney's Movie Magic, there was like no Star Wars, I think. Either none or like almost none. So I wonder if they were piloting like, oh, we'll have a full show for fireworks on the nights that we're not doing the full Star Wars fireworks show. I don't know. It all read as kind of odd. Again, like if you're passing by on your way out or something, they're quite short. So I would say, yeah, like stop and watch. The crowds were very thin. It definitely like did not pull people in, but it's not like a huge highlight by any means.
Those those projection shows are definitely a good way to end the day for sure. But definitely not something you should really plan around, I would say.
Yeah, don't go in expecting Happily Ever After or whatever various nighttime spectacular at Epcot you like.
No, I think this is definitely a couple steps below that.
Yeah. The big nighttime spectacular at Hollywood Studios, of course, is Fantasmic, and that has been updated in the past couple of years, definitely since the last time we were down in Hollywood Studios, which would have been September of 2021. So we got to see the updated version of Fantasmic this year, and it was awesome. Of particular note, they added segments for Frozen and Moana, and they like blew my mind, like took my breath away. It was so good. Heavy spoilers. The Frozen segment is mostly based around Show Yourself, which is such a good song, I think so underrated. And whenever Disney decides to use Not, Let It Go from Frozen, like such a win if you ask me. I think Show Yourself is a really powerful song on its own, but then to see it, in the sort of live action nighttime spectacular format, like fantastic.
Yeah, and I would say great choices for picking princesses with water-based powers.
Yeah.
Excellent call for this show.
That makes sense. Yeah, and the Moana segment, very cool as well, but there is a point where she like goes out and walks on the water, which oh man, it was so good. So yeah, I liked the old Fantasmic. I think Fantasmic's just one of those shows that I've always enjoyed. I was nervous to hear that they were doing updates, but figured, they're probably gonna do a good job, and I'm happy to report it is excellent. And we mentioned it briefly before, but Journey of Water did open fairly recently, I would say, certainly since we had last been in the park, so we got to do that at night and during the day. We also did the Attached to Moana meet and greet in Epcot. Journey of Water, I think, is a super cute attraction. It's a walkthrough and you learn basically about the water cycle, but it's all like really interactive, so you and the other guests can help make the water do actions. There are some stations where if a lot of people are doing, you know, the waving or whatever, the water reaction's way bigger. It's honestly, I think it's really cute. It's like A+ edutainment. Kids loved it, adults loved it. You will get a little bit wet though.
Yeah, but it's not that bad.
It's not, no, but even on the dry path, just like there's water shooting around everywhere, you know, some droplets are gonna happen. The big Te Fiti like centerpiece is honestly gorgeous, even pretty up close. It's quite convincing. And then now, of course, from that vantage, you can look at Te Fiti and there's like a waterfall and then the Epcot ball. And it's just like, ooh, that is a nice little visual.
Yeah, and then also there's like kind of the scavenger hunt for character-shaped rocks, which is kind of fun to do while you're walking through it. It definitely adds to the experience because oftentimes you're waiting to do one of these interactive things and you can try and look around and find the character. It's definitely something that when you're in Epcot, you should try to make time to walk through, in my opinion, if not once, twice.
Yeah, I think it's well worth the 10, 15 minutes maybe you'll spend in it. I guess going with correct expectations, this isn't an e-ticket, you know, big attraction. It's not Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, but for what it is, I actually really love it. And I think it's great that this like Journey of Water connects effectively like the seas and the land theming. So I know it took forever to open. That is still annoying, but I'm happy to have more walls down. And I think it's honestly a really great attraction. We also did Enchanted Tales with Belle for the first time, which we talked more about in our character video, so I will link to that in the description below if you want to hear more. Overall though, as an adult, I was pleasantly surprised with how cool of an attraction that actually is, and I would probably just blanket recommend it to people.
Yeah, that's something you have to do every time you go to Disney, but definitely something that you should do more often than not.
Yeah, I was surprised with how cool it was, and in retrospect, I'm like, oh, we probably should have done that like 1 or 2 trips ago by now. We also did dine at Cinderella's Royal Table for the first time. We talked about that more in a separate video. I will say briefly that it's been on my list for forever, so I'm glad that we finally did do it. And Merida is meeting and greeting there now, or at least as of October she was, which is just like such a highlight for me personally. Then there were a slew of new to us dining experiences, which again, we've talked about in other videos, but I do want to say briefly that Tiffins was such a sheer delight. Like everything about the food was amazing, the drinks were great, the service was impeccable, the vibe in the room that we were sat in was beautiful, like everything was perfect. That might be the best dining experience at Walt Disney World. I certainly think probably inside a theme park. It blew me out of the water.
Yeah, because we've gone to that lounge like so many times.
Yeah, Nomad Lounge.
And it's just, we've maybe had a couple bites here or there, mainly drinks, like this is good, but to think that that restaurant is also that good was just amazing.
Yeah, if you like Nomad Lounge, which I hope you do because it's pretty quality if you ask me, I couldn't imagine going into this. I figured Tiffins would be like, oh, just as good as Nomad Lounge. It is above and beyond so much better than Nomad Lounge, which is wild to think because Nomad Lounge is already pretty good. Like how much room is there to grow? Somehow they do it. Out in City Walk, we made some time to go to the Dead Coconut Club, which is a like themed overlay of the Red Coconut Club, which they do during the Halloween season. They often also do overlays of Red Coconut Club for the holiday time, sometimes others. So anyway, the point is there may be a themed bar experience you could go to in City Walk. Overall, I had a nice time and it is super highly themed. I would say neither of us are like huge Halloween people, definitely not to the extent of like Universal Monsters IP.
Right.
So I don't think we were really the target audience, honestly. But it was cute. There's pretty good drinks there. It's definitely a good place to like sit and vibe at if you want that.
Yeah, they sometimes have group musical acts playing as well. And it's very uniquely themed. The overlay was very much 1950s monster, which I'm sure some people adore. But overall, it was just a good place to just grab a drink, find a hopefully quiet corner, and just take it all in.
Yeah. I do think they change up the theme every year. I don't think they've been doing these overlays for more than a couple years, so I guess we'll have to see what happens in the future, but it's not necessarily gonna be the same theme next year. But even if you aren't stoked about the theme, if you wanna grab like a fun themed cocktail in City Walk, I think it's a good option. This was also our very first time enjoying a milk offering from outer space, so of course we are talking about green or blue milk in Batuu. We went for blue spiked milk, so with the alcohol. We had never bought it before, honestly, because it's kind of expensive for a drink, whether you get the alcohol or not, and I've heard like mostly only bad things about the blue and green milk, people saying it's like not very good. I was pleasantly surprised with blue milk with alcohol. I thought it basically tasted like Fruit Loops maybe, or like Smarties candies. It really wasn't that weird or off-putting.
It was like a very sweet, creamy beverage, which we drink fancy coffees like that almost all the time. So definitely very fruit forward though. And the rum definitely helped it mellow it out, believe it or not.
Yeah, I don't know that I need to get it again ever, but I'm glad to report that we did get it the one time and I didn't like immediately just want to throw it out. Like, it was good. It was definitely good enough. And the last food thing I really wanted to touch on in this video, again, there were so many new to us experiences, but just for brevity in this one, is we did do Narcoosee's Lounge, and we basically had dinner there by getting like 4 small plates and some drinks, and it was phenomenal. The food was so on point, the drinks were amazing. The service also, even at the bar, was like top notch, like the extremely high quality. They paid so well attention to all of the bar patrons, and no complaints. It was beautiful.
Yeah, that place is signature dining at its best at Disney. Everything was just top class.
Yeah, and then the added bonus of you get to go out onto the patio to do the fireworks viewing. They pump the music in. It's to the extent where I'm like, well, why go to California Grill? The views from those two locations are very different, but I think that the food quality at Narcoosee's is definitely higher. I think the drink quality, you could probably make an argument that maybe, depending on what you wanted to drink, maybe Grand Californian's better. But I found the patio on the water at Narcoosee's to just be like so much more peaceful than the rooftop situation at California Grill. That Narcoosee's experience, I mean, I went in and I thought it would be good because of course it's signature dining, but it really exceeded all of my expectations to the point where now I think we probably need to go do a proper meal there. And I don't usually feel that way after going to lounges. That was the recap of most of the new to us experiences, at least the things that are really attractions. Like I said, we didn't do most of the food because there was just so dang much. It's really fun to look back on our 2-week trip and know that we did try a lot of new things and we pushed ourselves, and for the most part, they were all pretty dang great.
One of the big reasons why I love going to Disney is all the new things that you can try, because it's like a whole world down there. And honestly, very few regrets. Most everything I really enjoyed, and definitely some new additions to the must-dos for future trips.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how we divvy up our time in the future.
Just spend more time down there is the answer, right?
Yeah, obviously. Just annual passes, here we come. If you've done any of these things before, we would love to hear your thoughts about these experiences. And what are some things new to you that are still on your list? It does seem like it's an endless growing list. Again, unless you're going all the time, there's always something new to do. I hope this has been helpful or at least entertaining. Thank you again so much for being here. We super appreciate it. May the rest of your day be magical, and we'll see you real soon at Pixie Dust PhD.
Bye.